League 6 Demonic Pacts releases on April 15th, so mark your calendars, take out your vacation days, and ship the kids off to their grandparents because this is gonna be a fun one. If you've been too lazy or not had time to find out what's been going on with the new leagues up until now, don't worry, this video will help you out. I'm sure most of you already know what leagues is and how they work, but for the few for which this will be your first, Leagues is a temporary game mode in which you have boosted XP rates and boosted drop rates, where your goal is to complete tasks to gain points. These points are then used to unlock relics and items to make you much stronger and give you game-breaking abilities. Now with that out of the way, let's dive right into what we know. There isn't too much that's been actually confirmed yet, as the Leagues team loves to keep their cards close to the chest when dealing with Leagues information. But what we do know is that Misthalin won't be available as a region at all this time because Yama has decided to kidnap some NPCs from the region and burn the rest of it to ashes. This was originally discovered from translating the strange text that appeared in the blog post about League 6 and then confirmed by the release date video afterwards. The release date video was teased at the end of the 25th anniversary celebrations livestream as a mysterious QR code with Yama featured right before saying, "This league is mine." When scanning the QR code, it took you to an image which contained the link to the date reveal video in Morse code on the wall. Now what this implies, beyond the region being inaccessible, is up for speculation, as it is possible that we lose access to many items and content, but perhaps not all of it. What it does mean is that we will be starting in some other region this time, which is speculated to be between Varlamore, Kandarin, and Asgardia. I will get more into why these regions in particular in the later sections. In previous leagues, we were also given Karamja region for free from the start, while this time around it was stated that we will only be gaining access to Karamja a couple hours into the league, and that, quote, "Karamja on its own doesn't feel like much of a regional choice, so we still wanted to offer it for free to everyone." If you've played the previous league, you'll be pleased to hear that Echo bosses are making a return. For those of you that didn't, Echo bosses are essentially harder versions of bosses with added or even completely reinvented mechanics that dropped unique overpowered items, such as the Gloves of the Damned dropped by the Echo Grotesque Guardians. Not every Echo boss and their reward will be making a return from last leagues, and that new ones will be introduced as well in place of them, but in the League's team fashion, nothing more was revealed so far about them. You may also be familiar with combat masteries, which were also first introduced in the previous league. These were essentially combat-focused tasks, which you had to complete and were rewarded with a specific combat change to your account. They're making a return this league as well with a bit of a makeover under the name of Demonic Pacts. So, expect to sell bits of your soul in exchange for powerful combat abilities. Finally, sailing will be inaccessible during the leagues, so if you thought you were going to sneak into another region which you haven't unlocked yet, think again. And of course, we will be getting some reward after the league finishes, which can be purchased based on points you got from this or previous leagues in the league's reward shop. This was everything we know so far about this league, which isn't too much, but maybe soon we'll get to know a little bit more or more details, or maybe even get spoiled with something even larger. If you want to stay up to date on everything leagues, I would recommend keeping an eye out for new blog posts and joining the official league's Discord. I'll put the link to this in the description if people would like to join it. For now, let's get into some speculations and theory crafting. The biggest topic I've seen floating around recently is if we're not starting in Misthalin, then where are we starting? Out of the three most guessed starting locations, Varlamore has been given the most attention, and rightfully so. Remember the QR code that took you to an image with the Morse code on the wall? Well, that image had a name in the Jagex system, and it was labeled as Starting Virtue Revered as Confused Evil Mineral Realm. Yeah, it doesn't mean too much off the top of your head, right? But this led to people trying to figure out what this cryptic message could mean, and basically two camps formed around this message. The first thinks that Varlamore is the starting region because virtue revered as followed by confused means VRA and it's scrambled, so it becomes VAR. Then evil in Old English is loosely translated to lamb. Another word for mineral is ore. So putting all of this together, you get starting Varlamore realm. To me, this seems a little too far of a reach, but who knows, it is quite cryptic after all. The other camp thinks that within the context of what we know, it means that Varlamore is the next region to burn, which would be an interesting idea, having a set amount of regions burn and not being able to choose from these. If Varlamore isn't available though, many are speculating that we'll start in either Kandarin or Asgarnia. But why these? Well, Kandarin is a little mundane, but it's a really good starting location as it has a lot of potential, and the region itself got the short stick quite a couple times in the last leagues as it wasn't really appealing to pick that region. Asgarnia, on the other hand, has a bit more behind it. Someone noticed that in the original League 6 cinematic, there was a bright star symbol within what seems to be a flag, and some have chosen to interpret this as either Asgarnia or Varlamore, both of which seem to be possible at this point in time, as either indication of starting region or the next area to burn. There's also been a couple theories going around about a bug that came into the game the day the cow boss was introduced, where strangely, Oziak started handing out wyvern shields to some players who were in the middle of completing Dragon Slayer 1, which is strange because not only should something like this not really slip by even in the spaghetti code that they have, but also because Oziak doesn't even have the functionality to turn your wyvern visages into the shields if you pay him, like with Dragonfire shields. Not only that, but the text surrounding the interaction is just kind of odd as well. What does he mean by "this shield turned up recently? I believe it belongs to you." Are we supposed to get the shield as a reward? Or perhaps it's being returned to us because he thinks we lost it. I don't know, suspicious if you ask me. All of this leads me to think that perhaps Yama intends to burn multiple regions and keep a bunch of hostages from each region. Then you are given Pacts, which have a quid pro quo in which Yama will release some hostages and give you some ability. A relic with a little twist. You'll have to do a little bit of dirty work to earn your rewards this time around. An Oziak, after all, isn't included in the basement video or the image, alongside the captured NPCs of Mistalin. Perhaps he managed to escape just in time and wants to help you free as many others as possible, which is why after freeing some NPCs, he rewards you with some items to get stronger, like the Wyvern Shield. Furthermore, I believe Varlamore will be the starting area, not because of the cryptic message solve, but rather because of something I saw in the blog post. They mentioned that we will be starting in Yama's lair, but not the version we are used to, rather a different one where the sage is locked up and, quote, in Nan's favorite holiday destination, as Yama has taken over from here. I think this means a sunny beach somewhere, as the older generations love to go vacationing in places like Spain, Italy, and Greece. Where else in Gielinor would you find all of this but the Sunset Coast and Alderaan in southwest Varlamore? It's the perfect destination for that. The fact that we know the sage is locked up also makes me believe this theory of freeing NPCs even more. Perhaps freeing the sage will be the final NPC to free once you reach Dragon Trophy tier. But that's all the craziness I have for you for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.